I think the first thing we'll do with these, we'll get the valves out. I want to take them to work and get the tyres off and drop off a bit of old oil. Um, that way we're not waiting around for the tyres to deflate. They're all holding air, but it's just that I don't want the tyres. Into the boot of the XW, to the parts supply. Oops. You get these things out, clean them up. Can't put them on until we've colour sanded though. Just took the tyres off these. Tyre disposal is very difficult here because no one wants them. You can't put them out on the hard rubbish, they won't get collected. The council charge lots to get rid of them. The only way to get rid of them is when you get new tyres fitted. Now, I took the 5 of them down to the tyre place, and there's a deal with Bridgestone where you can buy 3 and get 1 free. And so I've ordered a set, and the last one for the spare, which has a little bit of damage on the rim, which is, where's my finger? That one. I'll just use the second-hand one, stick it in the boot. So in the meantime, I'll get some of that caustic stuff in the reject shop and give them a bit of a clean and try and polish them up a bit. Well, there was a funny thing happened. This hose here that was on the car actually fits and clears the pulley very well. I had it on there before. You can see the bit of grey residue or brown residue there over the water pump. And it fits beautifully and clears the power steering pump. So it's just downturned a little bit, but you can sort of bend it up. I think we found the right part number at Burson's, and we've ordered a new one. Failing that, you don't often see bottom hoses fail, but I just don't want to put that one back. So I think we'll go ahead, we'll put this power steering cooler on and mount it accordingly. And I think after that, once I've painted the bracket, I'll make a little bracket up for the front of it there with a suitable piece of steel. So once I've fitted it, we'll take it off and paint it while it's drying. I've got to get a head start on the wet sanding stuff. I hate doing that. I keep moaning about it, so it's time to shut up and just do it. And then I can put all the sort of front stuff back on. That's what all the noise is. I don't know if you can see it, that is a massive loader. They're building a new house down here. And just pushes himself up there. You wouldn't want to get that wrong, would you? I mean, the damage would be huge if you got that wrong. That's a skilled guy. And before we go too far, we've got to change an LED. They don't often fail, but this one has. Kind of works sporadically, but I think I might swap that out and get back to the car. Now, done the brake lines for the Sigma and the Falcon. They're all in here. Normally what I do is just get the old one, which, you know, these sorts of things, and run wire. I allow 5mm for a flare, and just run a piece of wire around it, get the length and transfer it to the bundy tube. I'll cut those fittings off and get them done next week. I can't do it now because I'm skint. I've been Easter shopping. So that's where we're at with this. Now this old hose fitted the Sigma really, really well. And the funny thing is, it is actually a power steering hose. So I managed to get a new one here. And if you've got a power steered Sigma, that is the number. So we can stick that on. That's a coup getting that. I'm really happy with it. So that hose can go on. Power steering's hooked up. There's a bracket there. And it goes through a hole, which was already in the car. That's the cooler, and once that bracket's on, that'll be quite rigid, and I've just made a small bracket extension just there and threaded it into a bit of 3mm flapper, so that will stay there nicely, and I'm reasonably happy with that too. So just doing the really grotty stuff, colour sanding. I want to get this buffed out. The whole thing needs to be doing the roof as well, but I can't buff the roof yet because I've got to do a paint repair on it. So it means doing this side as well, and then I can fit the front up, which will look reasonably good. And you can see the grill and all these sorts of things are in lovely condition. They're just dirty. It's got like red bull dust stuff on it. I don't know what it is, but we can stick all that back on relatively soon. Ahead of the game, once I've buffed the car, I'm going to want to put these on. That's for the wipers. This one I had to bodywork a bit because I hit it with a grinder with a cutting disc when I was cutting metal out. I should have taken it off first and I didn't, and I wrecked it. And the 2 grill supports. And yeah, I'll just rattle can them and that's about all you'd use a rattle can for. I'd much prefer to mix my own paint, but I think for that they'll be fine. And there we go. That'll be fine. Right, so this is just an exercise in wet sanding. I'm using something quite coarse here just on this guard here. This is 1000. The reason is when I painted it or when I cleared it, I got a lot of peel just in this area here. And the reason for that was because I didn't have the paint reduced enough. You don't want to be going that way because you'll finger groove it. You've got to go across or use a block. Should be using a block, but I've lost my favourite little block. And just keep it really wet. All that white stuff is clear coat. If you start getting blue, you've got a problem because you've gone through the clear. And the other thing is I'm just using a spritz bottle. The cheap ones from the reject shop are absolutely terrible. This is from Bunnings. It's a proper gardener's one. I'll tell you, the best thing I suppose is to use a bucket full of water. But we want to get it so all the tops of the paint are off and down to level where the bottom of the peel is, if you know what I mean. That's just water with a couple of drops of Morning Fresh dishwashing liquid, and that will help it glide over better. It won't sort of hang on to it and, you know, do this sort of stuff. But yeah, just going through and doing this, not my favourite task, but I keep rattling on about it, so it's hardly something you're going to want to know about. And periodically we'll dry it off, have a look, and we'll see where we've missed and go over that bit. And then after I've done it with this stuff, which normally I do the first one on with 1200, I might change it out for some 1200. The last wet sand will be 2000 grit, and then I'll buff it. And I actually just leave them buffed, I don't even polish them. And you go down here and do all this, that's getting a bit coarse. You get the picture. It's a crummy job having to do it. I don't know how painters do it. I take my hat off to those guys. It's something you've got to have a lot of patience for. And here I am going like that with my fingers, which is bad. So I'll just dry it off, have a look, and I'll turn the camera and I'll show you what I'm talking about. See here, I don't know if you can see there, that's not enough. Down there, not enough. We've got to go again. And also there, I can feel that. That's rubbish. So I'm just going to get the rough off with this 1000. I don't like using 1000, as I said. Then we'll come back with the 2000. See that? Got to get rid of all that. The other thing is when you're wet sanding, see all this? When you're wet sanding, if you hear it whistle or anything like that, you know there's a bit of grit under there. So you've got to stop straight away. That's all fine there. It's just those edges. And that's sort of intentional. I keep away from the edges so I don't go through. Right, so I've got to top this up again. Now with any bodywork stuff, anything I've said here, do not listen to me, because I am a mechanic. I'm not a automotive painter. You need to go and see a qualified guy, so I'm just going to top that up. I could well be wrong with some of the stuff I've said, but that's just worked for me in the past. You can still see on top of that guard a bit of peel. We'll get that out with the 2000. And I'm onto the 2000 on the other guard now, so shouldn't be too long before we start buffing. Right. Well, there's a couple of bits there. There's a few blemishes in this. I think that's roughly how we want him. It should look, when you look along it, it should look quite shiny anyway, like reflective wise, or reflection wise. You should be able to see some nice reflection of it. We've still got to do up here though, a bit more. That's still not right. What happened was I put the product in the gun. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't reduce it. It came out like silly string. It's like, ugh. So I had to reduce it and go over. Yeah, that's all rough there. God, I've got to do that again. Just masking this off so when I buff it, it doesn't create a mess everywhere. Look at this. June Whitfield died. I had no idea. No, 2018. She was Safi's mother. No, Eddie's mother, sorry. Sappy's that's Eddie. Edwina. It was her mother and Absolutely Fabulous. It was a brilliant show. But I didn't know she died. That's a terrible shame. Anyway, we'll continue masking. I'm keeping this thing rotated so it's rolling off the edges. Like that. It's got to watch because otherwise it can catch. And that's what we're aiming for down there. That's beautiful. That colour is a cracker too. Let me show you. And you can see that's the dark blue. And when I flick it over, you cannot see on the video the clarity in it. It's really, really good. So I've got to keep going. I haven't even done the front doors yet, look. Look at the difference. And we're not finished buffing this out yet. See those little pock marks? The tiny little pock marks? That means it's not wet sand enough. I'm going to leave them. I'm going to leave them because it'll give us more buffing room later on. I'm not fussy to the point this is not a show car. This is a little humble Sigma, and I'm actually really happy the way it is. The XC has a couple in the bonnet. I'll take those out because the XC is a restoration, a proper restoration, where this is sort of a very quick job. We've got some swirls in there. Oh, bugger it, that'll do. That'll have to do. Just got this cheap eBay crap, this sticker, which will go across there. And I was going to paint the stripes in, but I decided since that I'm not going to, because I'm going to change the colour of them. Eventually, when we finish the car and get it all, you know, hotted up and all that sort of stuff, we will use a red stripe. But this will just give you some idea. I'll just bang it down there. And I can see what the freaking I'm doing. Is that right? But yeah, that's how it's going to look for now. Yeah, so not my favourite by any stretch, but it'll do. And I'll probably even have to take that off because I can't even see from the angle I'm on now if I've even got it straight. But it's ultra conservative, but it'll be okay. I put out of the front guards without too much mess. That's all looking fairly good down there. So I'm just going to do it so that I can put the front on. Then I'll do the doors. If you can see the difference in clarity between what's buffed and what's not buffed. If you look down a lower guard there. So yeah, we'll work along. We'll buff it all over the back. The roof I'm not going to do yet. I've got to fix up a paint issue or two. There's another one there where the tape was. That's probably the ISO free, arguing with the acrylic. Dunno. Yeah, remember how this stuff goes. I'll take this inside and wash it. It's all full of that dust we were talking about before. It looks as though the grill goes in first and they just sort of slide over. Yes, it does. Just so you can pop these out more easily to replace those globes, I would think, because you can't get to them from the engine bay. So I'll clean all this stuff up. The other thing, putting this on for stroking. Bloody birds, go away. Those corral things, they dump all this muck on your car. I shouldn't have put this on because I've got to sort of, to get these out, you've got to kind of bend them around. And so that wasn't my finest hour. So, yes it is. Right, jobs on the agenda for today. I want to get these two left-hand doors rubbed out and buffed. And door furniture put back on. The guards look rather sweet. Actually, I haven't seen them before, have you? Oh, look at the Plimmy's wheel in there. Doesn't look sweet. Right, so the other thing that worries me a bit is the bonnet. It is a mess. But I think what we'll do, I've left the tape down there to guide where the hinges go back on, because there's a small amount of room at the very front corner where it'll come up against the guard. So I want to give this a wipe down, just give it a bit of a clean up, and basically see where that gets me. Times like this, I'd really like a shotgun. Anyway, so there's the bonnet. It's not that clean at all. I use wax and grease. I'm just using a little bit of cutters just to take the remains of the thing out. I'm not polishing it, I'm just wiping the sort of dirty marks off. And it will be completely respectable. Like, it'll be alright to use. I'm certainly not interested in painting this underneath. Once I put it on the car, that is where it's going to stay. And that's alright. So it's mainly just getting some of this ingrained stuff out of the paint. But you can see how dirty it is. I wouldn't dare use my buff on it because I'll wreck the pad, but it's just to make it a little bit cleaner. That's as much as I'm going to clean it up. We've had a smack here. It's a little bit wrinkly on the frame there, and there's a crease. But at the end of the day, it's as clean as we're going to get it for now, without spending too much extra time, which it's underneath, so I don't think it matters too much. These stickers have been painted on top of a white bonnet, so I'm not going to leave those, even though it says it's a GB32 1597 cc's, which is wrong. This car could have been on a New Zealand import or something like that. The bonnet, sorry, could have been on an imported car. So we've got a couple of little burn marks over there, which will be from the battery in this area here. Again, not worth worrying about. So I'm going to flick him over, buff the top, and put it back on the car. This needs repainting quite badly. There's all sorts of marks in it. There's poo that's been there since Tutankhamun's time. More rubbish here, crow's footing. All sorts of things. Blemishes. It really is pretty knackered. I'm not doing any more painting on the car until... I'll repair the roof, but I'm not going to do any more painting on the car until after it's on the road. I think oh, there it is. There's that much crap in the paint. Well, the paint's smoother, but it's still rubbish. It's just old, worn paint, and it's going to scream against the rest of the car, but it just has to be redone. That's a job for later. I mean, it feels smooth, but you can get it shinier by wet sanding it, but there's no, you'll get rid of this with wet sanding and that, but you won't get rid of all the other blemishes, so it's not worth spending any more time on. That certainly works for me underneath. It's a different colour, but a lot of that's reflection of light. It is different, it's duller, but it's not too bad. You'll see over here, I put masking tape down because I sort of gapped it before I painted it, and you can see the dark bits. That's not oil, that's just, well, it probably is, sort of ingrained oil. And so I went over the thing with a little bit of polish just to get some of the stains out, and you can see it actually comes up all right. The bad part about it though is when I close it, the paint absolutely sucks compared to what we've managed to achieve on the rest of the car. So, I mean, I've run over that with the buff. It's passable, but it's just not quite here. But it's going to be all right. Particularly when you look there, the clarity between the top of the guard with the leaves, and you can see how it sort of goes dull. But for roadworthy, we don't care, nor do we care about the fact it's a different colour. Susie's absolutely wetting herself with laughter. She's talking to her auntie. I've got to put this on now and make sure it all works properly before I put the grill in, because if I lock that grill in, or fit the grill and lock the bonnet down, the cable's not operating properly, I'm in a lot of trouble. It's going to be very hard to get to. Right, so I've just stuck this grill and it's just sort of sitting there at the moment. We've got a couple of fitting issues. It's sitting a bit too proud there. I think that'll sort of straighten out all right. Gap between here at the top is a little bit off. If you look at that one there, that's quite a bit more open than what that is. And even with everything sort of left out, it's not a tremendous fit. I can't remember how it was before, But at the end of the day, we'll take it all out, put the lenses in. Some of them are secured with funny combinations of nuts and washers. And we'll put a rubber trim up around here like the original one had. And I'll just use bicycle tie tube for that. But why can't you do it? Is it hurting your back?
Yeah, if I stretch or move in a certain way.
Just because the bottle's like a 5 litre bottle.
Yeah.
Oh, she does a great job, doesn't she?
She does.
With the chrome bunny.
Am I filling up this one?
Not mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, yours or Susie's. Take your pick.
Oh, okay.
No one's had a sip.
This is not a good look, is it, Grandma?
Get a camera.
It's a great look.
Grandma's here for Easter.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gorgeous.
Isn't it? Yeah, I'll put this.
Glass.
Yes, that'd be
You or
lovely.
Susie.
Right, well, I've spent the last couple of days on the XC, getting it up to speed, and now I'm back at work tomorrow, so I need to just sneak in the last bit of today, catching up with some work on the Sigma. Right, where do we begin? Indicator lights, that's lovely and fresh. That one is pretty good, but it's not as fresh, so I'll buff that out to match that. A little bit dirty. This has washers and the wrong screws, and there's a speed nut and a screw missing from the base. I have some XC ones, an abundant supply of them that will suffice. I've got this sort of thing already done, so we can go ahead and put them back on the surrounds. Paint. You'll recognise this has been a little Humbrol enamels, and they terps clean up, obviously, and any air dry or cured enamel will clean up with terps or GP thinner. You can also get an enamel thinner. And that's basically all it is. Now, they call it self-priming. Some of the paint cans you see, particularly rattle cans, will call it self-priming. They're not. They're just enamel, and enamel will stick pretty much to anything. And an MG engine video, I actually painted dog feces with enamel and it stuck there. So I don't normally buy it in quantities like that. That was $3.50 when I bought it, the white one. When I went back a week later, they'd put them up to $4.50. Now, that will either be QD, which is quick drying, or it will be air dry enamel. I'm not sure which one it is. It'll depend on how long it takes to go off. White is for the CB350. I've done the black around it, but I need to do the white bits in there. I'll see how they clean up first, but if they don't clean up as well as I want, then I'll use the white for that. I might pop a little bit of black in there just to pull it down in case that's too stark, and it could well be. You'll find a lot of whites on 70s bikes aren't stark white at all. And the red, of course, is for a little Mitsubishi badge on the front of the Sigma. And there was one that resembled more a Monza red, if you like, which is more an orangey red. I went for this one, which is kind of like a BMC tartan red. It doesn't really match that, but it doesn't matter. We'll redo that anyhow. Just got to clean up the chrome around it and just clean up in there, and I'll run it in. I might reduce it a bit so it runs out and doesn't leave brush marks in there. I don't know. This badge is broken, so we've got to figure out what we're going to do with that. Sometimes if you're buying large quantities of air dry, this is air dry enamel, that was $15 or $20, I can't remember how much it was, $18 or something, for 500 mil, that's $4.50. So if you do the maths, you can figure out that it's a heck of a lot cheaper buying it like that. If I was a modeler, I would just cancel that and use that. Now, the plastic body on models, I mean, some people do key them back a little bit, but most of the time I just brush this stuff on, it stays there forever. It's inside, no one keeps plastic models outside, and so the adhesion's pretty good and they don't dull off and go chalky, which is what will happen if you leave it outside over time. So, what else? The other thing I wanted to mention is the fuel pump. This is our Sigma fuel pump here, and we've gone through, we've spent quite a bit of time on this. This is a 2 outlet, there's no tank return because it uses a vapor separator. There is a kit available to them, but there are different types of these pumps. These are Japanese pumps that are fully imported out. And the GOS manual has a note in it. And if you have an offset arm like that, you can still get the kit for it. If it's a straight arm, you can't. And of course your Saturn's different again. There's probably half a dozen types of fuel pumps that go on these. So we can use the later sealed return type with the 3 outlets, but I wanted to keep the vapor separator there just because that's what it had. But we need to be very careful when we choose diaphragm kits, even though they look similar from one another. there are different pumps, and that's because the cylinder heads are different, and they warn you that the cylinder heads are all interchangeable on the engines, but depending on the cylinder head will determine what sort of pump kit you need. Of course, this is just the earth for the wiper, which I've forgotten to put on, so I'm going to go and stick that on first. Right, so let's have a look at this. What we've got is a little badge for the grill. Whoops, sorry. It's got that little guide in it there, which will make sure it sits straight. And we've got this post that's broken off. Ooh, hang on. Which I'm going to remove. And there we go. As far as that's concerned, this is Badger's had it, but I figure using a bigger screw in there, which will still hang on to that part there, might be the way to go. Just because it's a sort of a purpose-built thing, if you know what I mean. So we'll Scotch-Brite this and we'll just rattle can that. That just sits behind the grill. It's just to stay. These sorts of things are great when they're plated, but we're not going to bother doing all that sort of thing because it's already essentially been done on the car, so I'm not interested in revisiting that. We'll just smooth off the surface and give them a quick lick. You can also just run the screws over a bit of wet and dry, or they've lost all their plating, and just stab them into a bit of cardboard next to that and just spray over them. They're not terribly important. I think we only need one of them anyway. Okay. Tough little things. There we go. Just got a little bit of the cutters. I use this on pretty much anything. The moment you put cutters anywhere near here, paint adhesion's going to fall. But I don't think it matters because we'll just prep wash in there. And we'll be able to get it back that way. Give it a rough clean. I'm just going to use a drill with some tape on it as a depth gauge. To bring that out a bit, I might just bring it out a tiny bit more. 3.5. I think that's what that is. No, that is 4. Right, guys. Let's go. Sweet. I've taken it to 4, and that's just a hint of CRC on it, which I've just got all over the face, which is really bad because I want to paint it now. Right, well, I've tried to paint this with this red paint. It looked awful. It's just too red. It's completely wrong. So I think what we'll do is we'll just get a couple of bits of that on here. And that'll probably do there. Like my fingers. And I need to add a bit of black to it to pull it down. Hopefully this works. It should do. Can't see any reason why it won't. Maybe a bit of black there. That's probably too much. But we'll see. And I just need to pull it down into something that's more something darker, you know what I mean? That's probably it there. More blood red type. Colour, that's better. I should probably also reduce it a bit. That's much better. Before it was just too red, too stark. And it just looked like the car had lipstick on the front of it. It doesn't matter if we go over the lines, we can always fix that up. And being a slow drying paint, it will self-level. But the car's old, and we want it to sort of look like it's not too fresh. The red's just far too vibrant. And just use this to run around the perimeter and dolly it up a bit. I picked this with a buff. This was a little bit faded. It's looking really, really good now. But it's held in with these incorrect screws and washers. They look pretty yuck. We can just stick that in. So far as these are concerned, actually before I put it in, I'm going to pop a speed nut down the bottom. Let's give that a squeeze. And that will sit there. And just use the proper type of hardware. This is Ford stuff. These are XC fasteners, but they're shouldered Phillips heads, and they will do the job nicely. And it's just a higher quality finish, if you know what I mean. You don't see any of this. This sort of sits behind the front guard, and you can't see it from the edge bay either. But you know, next time we go to change out some bulbs or whatever, we know we've got the right stuff in there. So it just always makes for a better result. If you use the right hardware. And it just looks so much better than that sort of nonsense. I've been missing a couple of these. These are broken. There's supposed to be a clip there on this side and that side there, which is missing. Therefore I fitted two new speed nuts down there. There's one there and one there. And I've also fitted one behind here. I don't know what was behind it before. Whoa, but you can see the front doesn't look too bad. The badge does scream a bit, but look, what do you do? Not that I'm happy with that. I'm happy with those birds. They chew off the berries from the plane trees and the liquid ambers, and they drop this sort of, what's it like? It's like cotton wool all over your car, and it blocks up all your drains and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, that's not too bad. What we're going to look at now is the bumper. I might just do this, put it on the car and going, because I'm not feeling 100% today. But I think we'll have a look at this, give it a clean up, take those indicators out, clean the lenses up, pop new globes in if we need to. And because we can see this area here in the engine bay, I might just lick over them with a rattle can. Just got to watch these power steering lines and try and get those in at the same time, those side things. How's that one going? I've missed it. There we go. That's it. Let's start. Better than I thought. It'll pull in a bit, but it is quite a long way up. Some of it's still not right, not lined up properly and that sort of stuff. The bumper's not lining up, but it's sort of, it's a bit misshapen I think, from the several bingles it's had, and I haven't put in these lights yet. I've just got to clean them up a bit I guess. You know, I just want to clean them out. They're a bit manky and that globe's had water on it, which is the reason it's all knackered. So I'll clean up the lenses and the reflectors and put those back in. These go in the bumper. But aside from that, I reckon we're good. For now, I don't feel too well today, so I'm going to go inside and have a rest. But I'll be interested to know what you think. We've just got to make up another dog leg type bracket. Probably can't see it in here for the power steering line, so I've moved it in. That's why I didn't secure it, because I wanted to know how it's going to fit with the bumper. And then we'll put that hose on. But all tile's not too bad. It looks alright. Very Spartan type of car. But it'll get there. The lid is shut. There we go. That'll give you a better idea. doesn't look right. There's something not looking right on it. So let's take a little bit longer, just because of the bits and pieces I had to line up and make, the speed nuts and just mucking around with everything like that. The doors I haven't bothered doing today. I started doing this one. Didn't bother with that one. I'm just not in the mood. So in the next one, what we'll do is we'll finish off the colour sanding. I think I won't film that. I'll just do it, and then we can just start putting these mouldings back on and the door handles and key, and give the thing a bit of a clean up. What else? I can't remember. I still haven't looked into this heater box. I just want to pressure test the core in it, and I can start putting that back in. But it's been a good few days on the Falcon, and some on this too. So I'm still pretty happy with how everything's gone. But before the weather cools off, I still will have to start painting all these plastics and getting the dash fitted. And we can see Harvey's thing there, that's still not fitted properly. But we're moving along quite well, really. All things considered, it's pretty good. So, hope you like that. We haven't got the lights in yet, there's no rego on it, but it doesn't matter. Take good care of yourselves, enjoy your classic, and I'll see you around. Bye.